It's Friday, December 30th, 2022. Um, my 2012 child, a cosmic nursery creation, who's now in this third dimensional reality, asked me and his grandfather or his nono to watch this Star Wars. Um, I've tried before to watch this Star Wars. I can't follow it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. As of late, with some of the pieces I've uncovered in the Ruzel, humans call puzzle, um, there's, I noticed, I looked up the, when the Star Wars movies came out, the 1977, when I was conceived, and when the magic escalator consigliere was delivered, is one date. Some version of the Hunger Games personnel was delivered in 1983. Right there. And then there's like a gap of the 80. I don't know who that is supposed to represent. Perhaps 8 with the number 0. It's neither of them or both of them. I don't know. Um, and then there's, again, it's Jedi work. It's not necessarily Sith and absolutes. And then there's the 3 movies thereafter. They start in the later chapters, but in the beginning, just how time and space and sequencing jumps around. And then the first 3 movies come out, and the years that humans chose were 1999, 2002, and 2005. And I know exactly what that was about with Sergeant Friday, just so Edward Scissorhands knows that I also watched, I never saw this movie, The Godfather. I never saw a reason for it. Um, I think I tried to watch it once. Tia Friel 1975 tried to get me to watch it. I wouldn't. Then finally one day I think we did, but I only got up to where the flowers were. I couldn't watch it. It made no sense to me, and it wasn't my kind of Italian. Um, it's somebody else's Italian family. That's not what Italian looks like to me. Um, so anyhow, so there's that. Um, Inside of the 1999 Star Wars movie, Anakin is referred to as a slave, and he's like, I'm a person. That was really integral. And then they deal later on with this shield, um, an energy force shield, like a dome, like a half a sphere, mini omni, whatever, for my records of a hole in time and space between here and there, building a time capsule. Um, so yesterday, also, Lewis asked me to watch this YouTube video on his account, um, Buddha at the gas pump. I'm like, but again, I watched Stutz by Jonah Hill, and I watched the NDE person. So respectfully, I sat and I watched part of this Buddha, whatever. And I realized it's the Matrix architect disseminating pieces of reality to different habitual followers, because they speak of these constructs of the higher order, the lower order. I mean, it's a caste system, CAST. Um, So I listened to it for their vocabulary. Nothing of it struck a chord with me. It sounds like somebody else is building blocks that I'm not buying. Um, so there's that. And then I discovered this morning Dragnet. There's a very specific episode 12 that came on, and it referred to something called LSD, and it referred to something called the Blue Man, which had his face painted. Then at the end of the episode, it talks about Philip, James' son. Um, and it had some other references with Ben in there. Ben Carver at Edward Scissorhands. And then there's something, another Ben. They refer to one as Benji, and they refer to the other one as something else. And at the end of Dragnet, it says, "These are true stories." Um, so that's interesting. They also reference something with Georgia State Station and the number 15, which I have a problem with, an insult to my intelligence at 5:15:15, which I keep reporting and keeps going unrecognized. The city marshal is taking some judgment up with him with the Capital One Bank. That's what it says on the paperwork. Um, and they've released me from the two, in whatever that means. I'm wearing this, I guess, I've seen in the movies they put on federal ankle bracelets to people. Well, is that like the version of the family where I can't get a live doctor to do any of like that I mean, they're performing hypocritical oath is what it feels like, rather than actually trying to find out what the shift in my health paradigm is. This LSD reference. One guy's eating paint. Is that the LEAD for sounds and for spelling? That doesn't always make sense. Um, with the piece of paper. I mean, like again. Oh, and just recently, I watched with Lewis this Godfather, the first one. I only got a third of the way through, and then I had to go to bed. I was too tired. Again, it's like The Sopranos. I watched it. I get that there's parts of the planet that live and want to live out Star Wars. Like they want to push every action to be a part of that cult movement, and that I understand that psychology exists. I also understand the psychology of wanting to live out Al Pacino and the whatever. Just so you know, 5:15:15 took me into a meeting, the kind of meeting where I wouldn't know how to get back, but he does, to whomever the representative was. I guess that's Edward Scissorhands' version of putting a horse head in your bed for the moment at a cult in New York. Keywords there was smog. We were on a rooftop. And then they called me Hungarian. Didn't know if that was a compliment. Don't know if that's a reference to Hunger Games. Um, they also, he said we're even Steven, just for code words. And I don't know who any of you are. But I'm sure that Ariel does. Um, let's see. What else was there? Oh, and then there's an admission by Nate on the C the BS this morning from the NFL world, about there was no teachings of nutrition um, and exercise. And like the coaches back then, while I was growing up in a teenage, whatever, in the series of rooms I was in, um, they just ran you if you started like looking like you were overweight. Which now in the series of Dragnet with these chemicals that they're categorizing as LSD, which I have to be really careful how this episode is read because this is not purposely ingested. Like this is just it's in the air and I'm trying to breathe and it's this toxic level, especially at the amount of vehicular traffic they're allowing throughout the city to disperse these chemicals. And then here's a real fun thing, fun fact. If you're a CPA, you know that you pull a wealthy person's tax returns and you want to see if you're in the FBI or the great beyond and you want like at God level, you want to compare where they file their main residency IRS for Internal Review Service here domestically and then where they spend New Year's. If it's not adding up, it's not their main residence. Capital punishment being whatever it is. Now here's the episode. It's Dragnet S12 E26 and it's DHQ The Victims. It says Friday and Gannon investigate a series of crimes including 2 homicides and an armed robbery. I'm pretty sure at some point they put me in school with a Gannon. One of the 3 that I went to. Now, this was when film and screen, and I can tell that the guy that they label officer, he seems to have my consigliere that came to visit with the nice gray trousers and the beautiful smile. I mean, you know that they don't live in New York full time when they smile with a full set of teeth without any gum recession. I mean, they come with the most pearly whites. It's like we don't even live on the same planet.
You can get her statement later at Central Receiving. Mrs. Bell over there's your best witness. Right. Get the report book. I'll talk to her.
You guys detectives?
That's right. DHQ Night Watch.
Yeah, I gotta get into that. These radio calls are driving me out of my mind. Investigation, that's for me.
How long you been on the job?
6 months now, but I've got this patrol thing pretty well whipped. I'm ready to move into something else now, you know?
6 months. That means you just got out of the academy last month. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it takes a good investigator to do a decent job working a radio car.
Yeah, but it's all preliminary. I want to get into follow-up. That's where you get the big capers.
That's a new one on me, son. Here all the time I was under the impression that patrol officers were always in on the big capers.
Here's an example. Look at us. Somebody gets their purse stolen. Who gets it? Us. It's getting so routine on board, half stiff.
Rather be out tracking down a bank robber, huh?
That's a ticket. None of this old lady drops her purse jazz.
Let me tell you something, youngster. Someday when you get the backs of those ears dried out, you might wake up and see how important your job really is. Take a look at your partner over there. 16 years in a patrol unit, one of the best on the job. Now, apparently you haven't been listening to him or you don't want to. For your information, that little old lady didn't just get her purse stolen. It was robbery. 2 hoodlums kicked her senseless out there on that sidewalk. You got a real large problem, son. You worry more about yourself than what goes on around you. Do me a favor, will you? Sit back and take a real hard look. Look at the victims of these crimes and try to have a little empathy. It might do you some good. That's what we're all here for, to serve these people. Now,
Parasympathetic position. Since I can't really get to the sympathetic that has all of the get up and go in like life or death.
Now, if you can't see it that way, maybe you better look for some other kind of job. I'm sure the department can spare you.
I didn't mean to.
That's right. You don't know what you mean or what you say or how you impress other people. Now, you think about it. Try to learn something from your partner. He'll teach you if you listen. He understands his job. You don't. Now, do me a small favor, will you?
What's that, sir?
Do what your partner told you to do. Go out there and get that book and get back in here and go to school.
Yes, sir.
After leaving the residence of Mrs. Florence Bell, we checked on the progress of the search for the suspects and Katie Anderson's purse. The patrol officers had reached a dead end.
The purse, you mean like a already established life fund for a very special bloodline? Just curious. Because I really don't get many words from humans. A whole bunch from like Godfather movie, the characters in the field. I see the faces that they've presented. I know the names that they associate themselves with. I can see now that I've actually watched the movie, in hindsight, who the real players were, or who they sent anyway. Um, and as I go through some of these movies, some of these dates, it all aligns up in Architect and Matrix. Um, of I see the patterns between the real and this Buddhist caste system, where they seem to have structured some hierarchy where they're keeping this information and money and opportunity at one level while completely oppressing my time spent here while stealing and then eating and then redistributing the purse that they've already stole, they already know about. Um, and a lot of people get hurt. I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I'm in the field myself and I'm hurt. Now here, parking garage, says Joseph. There's several levels of Joseph I could reference, but I'm not. Just so Joshua knows, because like somewhere I feel like there's a family fight where, well, did she grow up speaking Greek or Latin? It's not that simple, since the intelligent enough for the two of us male. I mean, I was oppressed like I grew up in a Greek household, or Old World Latin from ancient world and ancient times. But yet I'm growing up in this modern disaster zone where nobody abides by either Greek or Latin. And it looks like complete chaos. And they don't give me not only my purse, but my correct capitulate partner for life. And then I feel like somewhere in the arena, somebody got to a potential escalator rider and made them some offer like, you can have meals and snacks and we'll open up a concession stand for you. Or you can whatever. That gets really confusing to explain to nobody ever except the people that are involved.
9:30 p.m. We arrived at the scene of the robbery concurrent with the district radio car. It was a small grocery store. The uniformed officers would
Small grocery store. Who's minding the store? Who's got the supermarket?
maintain intensive patrol in the area while we obtain preliminary broadcast information.
Get him an ambulance, will you? Get Julie on ambulance.
Lester, there's one on the way. Now I've got to get a broadcast out here. Do you feel up to answering?
Now listen, he asks about guns. I mean, being a son of a gun, I know there's another option that he's not mentioning. Again, House of August in celestial bodies being in third dimension.
Some questions for me?
Yes, yes.
All right, fine. How many suspects were there?
One.
Male? Caucasian?
Male. Caucasian.
How old would you say?
About 25.
How about height and weight?
6 feet, 180 pounds.
How was he dressed?
Red shirt, dark pants.
Was he wearing a hat?
No.
All right, what kind of a gun did he have?
A gun, just a gun.
All right, so now try to take it easy. What kind of a gun? Was it a handgun, a rifle, a shotgun?
A handgun.
Blue steel or chrome?
There's another kind of gun they're not mentioning. I mean, artifact at the museum, an artwork dealer should know what I'm talking about. Because when I had a representative visit me with photograph, might I add, when I was younger, it was G under for our purpose, together.
No steel.
Okay. Anything
Now here it gives some information about this episode. Has mention of August with the number 20th and September with the number 4. Now this is the trailer for Edward Scissorhands. This came out in 1990.
Hey, Holly. This is some huge house, isn't it? Hello? What are you hiding back there? You don't have to hide from me. I'm as harmless as cherry pie. Those are your hands. Those are your hands. I think you should just come home with me.
Joyce, I just saw this strange guy driving with Peg. Did you get a good look at it?
Hi! Scissors.
Whoa! Heck of a handshake you got there, Ed.
Kim, this is Edward who's gonna live with us.
Well, this must be quite a change for you, right, Ed?
Those things are cool.
Can I bring him to show and tell on Monday?
He's a highly imaginative character. It seems clear that his awareness of what we call reality is radically underdeveloped.
Eddie, you take my very breath away. Do you have a girlfriend?
Is there something special?
Now where I come from, you dare not question the mental fortitude or ability of Edward. Just saying, I have a godfather, Edward. So that is never up for question. However, if there is such a doctor that needs some form of testimony, it is not the mental fortitude of Edward for which they are ever questioning. It is something field related with the children of the lower ward and their inability to comprehend the gracious messages that they were allowed to propagate on behalf of such an honorable man. I want to stay alive. I want to enjoy this life frame via planetary and otherwise incarnate. What I do not want is an escalated contest between more powerful and then the uniqueness that I provide. Being the hands of time, not in an illusionary way, but in a real Calcanious calculus.
In your life.
Hey, call the doctor. You skewered kid.
Just a scratch. The power of Satan is in him. I can feel it. All along, I felt in my gut there was something wrong with him.
From Tim Burton comes the most incredible tale of a most unusual character. Edward Scissorhands.
Hold me. I can't.
No, I don't know what happened with the LSD episode and Dragnet. It must have gotten cut off on the remote view that I have this morning. It was the episode right thereafter. But this goes back to CBS yesterday, where they're mentioning about in the 1990s, same time Edward Scissorhands was going on, about the lack of nutritional, like, and exercise education. Now they're at like a whole new level. I wouldn't even know where to begin. And it's not gestational, but it's interval. I'm in a different interval of time capsule with a Calcanious calculus. It's a whole nother, I mean, it's not even a conversation I can have with a human. whether they're local or not. We're not even in the same realm of possibilities.
Recent doctor's visit where, after some blood work, it showed that he needed to clean up his diet. What I find really interesting, and Nate, you and I were talking about this earlier, Shaq said that even as an athlete, he's over 50, he didn't know the difference between a carb and a protein until just this year.
Yeah, the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, there wasn't much education when it came to nutrition or even your diet as an athlete. Now, the game has changed, though, across every single professional sports league.
So if you were on a professional sports league back in the day, if you needed to lose weight or gain weight,
You just either ate a lot or you tried to work out and eat less. You know, oftentimes when guys couldn't get to their weight, their desired weight, coaches would find them or just run them.
wow.
Yeah.
All right. Shaq, we're rooting for you. All right. Let's talk about what you guys are doing for.
So, on that note, in the TV producer, the movie lands, mobster, like, whoa, organized crime territory for which I'm respectfully someone's prize horse. And it feels like they drag me out. And they also have this thing now on like they have drag hour in the libraries in New York City now. This is some new campaign. I'm like, oh, is this to go along with dragging me out for the Godfather movies, like sparingly in whatever at security level? I'm just curious because I know it happens. I just don't want to get caught up in they can't tell the story correctly. In the movie Studio Kiddos, they put ankle bracelets on the criminals that are about to be on trial, but under a home arrest or detention, whatever. I have a different scenario, as always. In absolutes, that would be like a Sith reference of I have a GPS tracker on my wrist that I can take off and on the back of my cell phone, just in case anybody gets funny with this new technology and wanting to somehow clone any. Like, I only have, at this point, I have one Facebook page. One. I post to one YouTube channel and one Facebook page. That's it. I don't use any extra features associated with Facebook, and I use my device sparingly. I take a video, I post it. It's an update to where I am anatomically in the matrix because I know that there's more dangerous things going on always. And I'm just doing my, where is the person in the Mercury dimension that I used to REM with before that was whatever in Hunger Games and rerouted into some other. Oh, let me pull up the Hunger Game reference. It looks, I've never seen this designer. Again, I'm not in fashion. I've never been, like, the fashion I was into, my family member came to visit me, said he was to marry me, and it was, they had gotten on loan from the Smithsonian Museum a very specific outfit, black and white bathing suit that went down to the ankle, and they wanted me to wear that on the runway at the Mildridge Inn, no less, for a one-time event, only fashion show I've ever walked, in a bathing suit that was family appropriate.
This morning, designer Vivienne Westwood passed away at her London home. Her name was synonymous with punk rock back in the 1970s. She had a long career.
Never heard of her, but she looks like the main character inside the Hunger Games.
We are highlighted by activism, runway shows, and museum exhibits. Westwood's company.
I mean, it's what they call a dead ringer, whatever that means, at like Dad's home office.
Annie says she died peacefully at her home, surrounded by friends and family. She was 81 years old.
True queen of fashion.
Very much.
Now, with making friends around the city and like, is that what my secret admirer wants me to do? I mean, I can get word to a secret Santa and a secret admirer. I don't have any answers back necessarily in a way that a human would expect if they're looking for further instructions. And like, I've watched enough of your movies at this point. I've ignored them my entire career, waiting for the things in Dad's office to function properly with getting me to the correct suitor or fashionably whatever. Intelligent enough for the two of us so that this way it's just like there's no questions, there's no worry.
Developing story, new revelations and investigate.
So there's some local whatever. Somebody handed me on Bell Boulevard. I'd never heard of her before. Some kind of flyer. But now when I look at her, I don't know if she was brought up Old Greek or Old Latin. So it does me no good because I can't even have an intelligent conversation or introduce myself properly because I don't know where I'm safest at the moment in this like abysmal situation.
Involving Congressman-elect George Santos.
The Long Island Republican admitted he lied about his past but is refusing to resign. CBS 2's Elijah Westbrook is here now with the latest on this embattled politician. Elijah.
Absolutely. Good morning to the both of you. And I can tell you that CBS 2 spoke with a former friend of Santos and campaign donor, someone at one point who knew him well. And now that these shocking claims are being revealed, the friend says the lies he was told all make sense now.
Now again, I watched Godfather, the Al Pacino version or the Marlon Brando version. I get it. I know who my characters growing up, kind of sort of, but not really. I know who the adult reintroductions were, kind of sort of, but not really. In like, keep it to like, where are we at realistically in this Calvin? So I'm watching and I can see I don't know if it's like my big fat Greek wedding or is it like Godfather or like Little Carlito's Way or Gaming Commission and like whatever they are.
He told me he was worth $14 to $22 million when he was in his 20s. And, now it's coming out that he might have been working at the call center for Dish Network.
Conservative TV host David Zier says he met Congressman-elect George Santos in 2020.
Zier. Now that name I know. Is that like the big real estate tycoon? I mean, I've never seen the face before, and I don't know if like he's like the one. Like, there's a George something or other out in Long Island too. I saw his signs when I was out there. Eludes me at the moment.
And gave him the benefit of the doubt, not realizing he was being lied to. Zier says he and other friends donated time and money to Santos's campaign, believing the Republican could flip the 3rd district from blue to red.
Very disappointed. I think he should step down. I really do.
This was the scene outside the Nassau County Courthouse just yesterday when descendants of Holocaust survivors and relatives of mass shooting victims slammed him for lying about his Jewish heritage and claiming he lost employees in the Pulse nightclub shooting.
How dare you say that you are Jewish? How dare he try to score political points or gain sympathy by lying about losing employees? I lost my son Scott in the worst high school massacre in American history.
A new headline from the New York Times overnight reveals he spent campaign funds on $40,000 worth of...
I have no idea how they gain access to researching a human. I know there's some profession called a private eye. I met JC28. He said his dad was one when he was growing up. But how it actually works and how they're able to actually get to that level of clearance To investigate humans, I have no idea. But there is somebody has access to that and availability to that. I just don't know who they share that information with. And I don't know how or who to even track down to ask if a background check is needed and if it costs money, because I don't have any, purse being stolen as it has been.
Worth of air travel. This comes as the Long Island newspaper called the North Shore Leader interviewed Santos back in 2020 and published reports about him possibly scamming then.
He wouldn't answer questions clearly. He was very evasive. At the time, he told me that his, one side of the family many years ago had come from Belgium to Brazil. This is his criminal file from Brazil. I mean, it's a pretty thick file. It's
Again, that level, like walking around New York and growing up in the Glen, I expected the adults. I mean, like they say that Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew, like they had a thing. It sounded like they had a legitimate child reference center for artwork at a museum level of respectable curators. Where I am unclear is why my future was so misdirected. Was it a rector problem? Was it a local Godfather issue? Was it just that nobody wants to be told what to do or to actually do what everybody expects out of them at humanity? I'm just curious. But they said that that existed somewhere. And like the children of the same family tree who want to like have children with kissing cousins, not with some lower ward other. I'm confused why that child wasn't why that child is still in the field being reprimanded rather than embraced and brought in to the safety zone of the family tree. That's what I'm confused about.
It contains pictures of him back from 2008 when he stole a checkbook from an 82-year-old patient of his whom his mother was caring for.
Now, several people have been asking the House Ethics Committee to investigate Santos. A rep for the committee told CBS 2, however, quote, no comment. Natalie and Lisa?
All right, Alex.
So that's my submission to those that keep like dad's most trusty advisors and consigliere outside of my day-to-day reach. And then I have this, as this is the symbol that they put in the front of the classroom when I was at the Glen. So wasn't in the house. It was not in the residence of the Glen. But when they took me to the building in that series of rooms that I sat in daily to learn, they call it growing up. So I would turn out correctly, and then nobody arrived. And then something happened, and it became like this crazy donkey story. And then this Star Wars edition, and everybody living in some Westworld theme park. And I'm still sitting here like, excuse me. Has anybody seen Prince Andrew? I heard Jeffrey Epstein had a terrible end, but does Andrew know where my artwork dealer went and why I was never able to get? I mean, the last artwork dealer that arrived said Prussia and Bavaria were fighting. I really don't know what that means. And I don't know what that has to do with, is she Latin-based or is she Greek-based on education system? It looks like neither, or maybe both. I don't know. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.